Okay, so you wouldn't believe it. I was like, she was naked, and she. All right, we're live. All right,
Oh,
so
we were just getting to the good part, man.
yeah, man, you should have seen this guy. All right, so that's not nice. There's going to be somebody going, oh, here we go with the homophobic stuff. Here we go.
Well, I
All
mean,
right,
as long as were his legs shaved? I mean,
hey man, I'm 50 now. Guy, girl, I don't care. I any freebies, I don't care. All
okay.
right, when you close your eyes, it's all right. So, anyways, so it's me and James tonight. Ben couldn't make it because he died, and I'm trying to break it as nicely as possible. But he died in a horrible. It was a no. He's anyways, his buddy screwed. Anyways, he can't make it because of I don't know. Somebody screwed up his truck, and
His truck died. His truck is dead, but he's fine.
yeah, his truck died. But no, I think his buddy's truck died. And I'm like, who gives a shit about your friend's truck? But it's his buddy, and because if that was me, I'd be like, I like if you called me on the phone and said, "Can you come pick me up?" I would pretend to be busy. I'd be like, James, I'd have water running and just James, I don't know. All right. Anyway, no, I'd come. I'd help you. All right. So tonight's topic, James, what is it?
The big bird of Texas and other weird things that fly that people say that they've seen.
Okay, go a little louder, please.
We are talking about the big bird of Texas, among other strange flying animals that have been spotted. Uh, Things like the thunderbird, the ropin, um, things that people believe are actually flying reptiles.
But they don't necessarily need to be reptiles, right?
No, they may not be reptiles. They may be something else. They may just be like birds that people just misidentified. Yeah.
Okay, because there are when I looked it up, there were and the flying birds or flying creatures. The only ones that I when you said that to me, um, I thought you meant Mothman
No. No, the
and the Jersey Devil, like the flying Jersey Devil.
that's a whole other topic entirely. But no, the big bird of Texas, um, it refers specifically to some sightings from 1976 or thereabouts, in well, obviously Texas, of what several people described a as a mostly resembling a pterodactyl, pterosaur, that sort of thing. Um, One person described what basically sounded like a pterodactyl, but with the head of an ape. But I think that they may have just been drunk or something at the time. That's what I take from that. But no, that's what I was talking about is specifically the big bird of Texas is basically modern pterodactyl sightings.
Right. Now, do you think that okay, I don't think a lot of people know, but pterodactyls, I don't know the exact measurements, but a pterodactyl,
Well, they could be been like as small as like say uh like a just like a regular sized bird to as big as uh a piper cub. They could be pretty small. They could be pretty big. And when I say pterosaur pterodactyl, I'm kind of thinking of all these like flying reptiles from the age of dinosaurs, and I'm just basically tossing them in and calling them pterosaurs or pterodactyls, even though that's not actually accurate because there was like several um, different species of them, and just for the sake of simplicity, I'm calling them pterodactyls. Because when I say pterodactyl, I'm talking about something that flew around when the dinosaurs were around.
okay.
But they could range in size from, like, say, like the size of a duck to the size of, like I said, small airplane like a Piper Cub. Uh, I think that's the one that was like the size of a small plane was called Quetzalcoatlus, I think. I have to look that up to for the exact pronunciations. You have to forgive me for that, but uh, they could they definitely had a lot of variety in their sizes.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, I got a video here. I just want to show how powerful. I hope it works. How, and I think a few people have seen this, but I'm going to share this file. Okay, now look at this thing here. Where the hell is it? No, it won't let me share that.
The long and the short is that these things basically looked like satanic whooping cranes. Is what they looked like. They looked like if you know like a giant bird, like a crane, suddenly had mange or something that was just naked, or that's kind of what they looked like. Um, but the thing is that a lot on that point, so people have been saying that they are seeing these things. They've been making claims for years that you know flying reptiles are still around. Some of them that are being reported are actually pretty big. Some of them coming in from uh, tribes in like places like Africa and Indonesia um, are actually rather a bit smaller, and they but the general consensus is that the people who see these things seem very confident that they are not seeing uh, a bird that there's mis being identified. They are very confident that they're seeing something that is not a bird.
Yeah, the bloody file that I had. If I could just, yeah, if I could find the bloody file, that would be awesome. It was, I swear, it was this. Everybody knows it. It's this kid that nearly gets picked up.
Oh, I've seen that.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, the kid. It took place. I want to say, was it Canada? No, it was like the northern United States. But he reported what was basically like very large bird swooped in and tried to pick him up. And apparently, the bird had enough strength to pick him up and carry him a couple of feet at a time, but the kid was just too heavy. So
Yeah, well,
the
but he still ended up. Um, he still ended up. No, it's not letting me. Not entirely. Yeah, he still picked up this kid.
yeah,
No joke. And luckily, if the kid was any smaller, if the kid was any
oh,
smaller, I mean,
oh,
maybe a couple pounds, not even a pound, the kid would have been gone. I mean, as a parent, when you watch this video, which, uh, I mean, it's just absolutely, I think they're stunned, right? But it's just like, you're sitting there going, my God, if this thing grabbed that kid and took it away, they're dead. That kid's dead.
now if I know what story you're talking about, and if I remember correctly, that is actually a supposed sighting of a thunderbird. Uh, not necessarily pterodactyl, but actually a thunderbird, which they actually were a living species that Carly Dyke if they're around, then they're exceedingly rare. But that's what that was supposedly of. But the size of the bird in question is still in conjecture. I don't even think they were actually really able to make a good positive identification of what it looked like. But no, that was actually uh, a Thunderbird sighting.
Of the kid.
Yeah, that was
No, no,
actually
I'm talking
an
about
actual
where,
bird. It had
this
feathers and
this
was
thing, uh, this eagle comes down, picks up a kid.
yeah.
Like it was an eagle. It wasn't a thunderbird. I had the if I could play it.
It was a big fucking bird.
Yeah, it was a big. No, it was like a. I don't know. Let me see if let me send it to you.
The thing that I am curious about is I definitely feel like these incidents are occurring, but I'd like to know how many of them are actually new species, like the one that we're talking about, and how many of them are caused by like examples of gigantism in species. Like maybe the bird is just like bigger than it normally would be, but it's genetically no different um, than say like a bald eagle. I'm kind of curious to know that because I'm sure that there are times where you have these sightings of a larger creature, and it's not necessarily that it's some strange animal. It's not necessarily a monster, but it's just monstrous. Would really like to. I really wish that scientists would be more open-minded about sightings like these, so that that sort of thing can be investigated. Because I do think that it has merit.
Well, I sent you the on your Facebook. See if you could open it up on your. If you could share it, because I'm not able to share it.
Sure, let me take a look here. Give me just a second. So are we looking at the actual video of the bird?
Yeah,
Oh, okay, okay,
that's
okay.
what I'm talking about.
Oh, my damn.
Can you believe that? Now,
That
I wish people could see that, but let me just see something here. No, that ain't it. I don't know, for some stupid reason, it's not letting me share video file. Flying Eagle. No, it will not let me share that. Because it is a freaky video where it's pretty disturbing.
here, hold on. I'm gonna try sharing just the Chrome tab.
Okay,
Do you see
ready?
that?
Yep, there we go. Okay, so here we go. Now watch this thing.
That
That, sorry, go on.
oh I
Well, play it again, James.
yeah, hold on.
Okay, so it notices the kid. This bird is humongous. This is an eagle. Like it's coming in for the kill, and it dropped the kid. Now, dad or whoever they run over there, it's a different language, but it's still. I think they'll show it again. Look at that! It picked up that kid. That kid is, I'd say, 15 pounds.
Yeah, I'd say so. 15, 20.
Look at that. If that kid was like 10 pounds, what a nightmare, though, for the parents. What a bloody nightmare. I mean, and it dropped the kid because it just couldn't do it. But if that kid was, I'm telling you, about 5 pounds lighter, like
Yeah.
a, like if you left, if that kid was 5 pounds lighter, that bird would have taken it away.
The I almost don't even think that it was necessarily that the kid was too heavy for the thing to carry. I think that maybe the bird just suddenly realized that it was the wrong prey,
Mm,
or maybe just
I think the bird, you're giving that bird too much credit. I think
well, I
that
mean,
bird knew
birds
that
are.
that
Well,
was,
you may be
if,
right, but
if it's a meal. I
mhm.
think any animal, if it sees a meal, it'll attack it. If it doesn't, it doesn't care that it's your kid or a friend or a family member or whatever. If an animal sees that it's a meal, I mean, you've heard the whole thing where, remember where it said, yeah, the dingo ate my baby, that big joke. Well,
Yeah, I mean,
that really did happen.
oh yeah, I know, and Jesus, that poor woman.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it's also possible that I mean the kid's like sitting there like wearing that little coat. Maybe the thing miss just couldn't keep a good grip on it because it like the coat tore or something like that. I mean,
Well,
obviously, from what I can tell, it was actually like more like it snagged the clothing, and maybe the clothing rep. God, who knows? I mean, I don't think the kid was too heavy for it to carry off. I think you know something like that happened, and that's why that baby is still with us and not in that bird's stomach.
I think if, because anytime if that was a rabbit and the bird were to grab a kid,
Hmm.
the excuse me, the talons alone, if that kid wasn't wearing that thick jacket,
Yeah,
the talons alone would have screwed that kid up huge.
yeah. But then that's kind of what I'm saying is like I think the talons like shredded the coat, and that's why the baby got dropped. I think it was just the baby got lucky. I think that that bird was more than capable of carrying that kid and carting it off somewhere. That's what I think. I mean, and the fact that the kid is didn't have that happen is just luck. I don't think
Mhm.
that it was anything more than that. If that kid was just like sitting there, you know, in like a warm summer day, and the bird flew down, and like say the kid didn't have a shirt on because it was like summer.
But
That,
around that park, it's probably, this is what, I don't want to go too long
yeah.
about the about this incident, but I guarantee you, at that park, that eagle has seen plenty of rabbits, squirrels, uh, even raccoons, and it has hunted that ground. So it was seeing a kid. I just think it's just a meal, and the meal was too heavy, and it let go.
Hmm.
You know, because if that kid was any smaller, um, I'm telling you, that kid would have been. It's horrible to think about it. I mean, it really is disturbing. But um, yeah, man. I mean, to get, God, just the, I, all I thought about was the parents. Like the family members. Like they would be sitting there going like, this is this is a complete and utter nightmare.
I want to share this. I want to watch this video again, just real quick. So you
Sure.
heard the thing swoop it, just like flying over. It sees it, swoops down. I mean, The video gets kind of like wobbly there. You can already
Well,
tell.
the guy, he ran, um, like he ran, um, to get to this kid, like you're gonna run over there, man. I mean, and you could tell when that eagle uh, turned.
Hmm.
That was like it noticed a prey. It noticed a meal, and it just said, you know what? Like this is like watch play it again.
Yeah.
Watch how this bird it circles around, and they've got amazing eyesight. So it knew, and it just said, "This is a free meal." Oh, it's not on screen. Oh, sorry, it's my fault. Go on.
Oh, it's plain.
No, no, I didn't put it on screen yet. Go from the beginning.
Oh,
Now watch. Okay, it gives a flap like it's like okay, it already knows, and it's coming down for the kill. Boom.
that that's disturbing.
Oh, it's beyond disturbing because
I mean, and the
it's
bird is
it.
just trying to live its best life. You can't like really fault him for that. But
But look at the wingspan on it. Look at how powerful that bird is. I mean, it had that kid about 4 feet off the ground at one point. Okay, maybe not 4 feet, but
say
yeah,
3.
I'd say about 4 feet off the ground. Look at that kid. Drop the kid. Isn't that just the most disturbing thing? And it's not a here's the thing. And I was talking to Ben about this the other day. The problem is so many people have, I mean, I've taken computer animation uh, a long time ago, uh, about 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was just that little course. And I mean, the animation that they're coming out with now, you have guys that for teasers will make like, hey, look, it's the Loch Ness monster. Hey, look, it's a Bigfoot or whatever. The CGI is so good, and there's so many people out there, hoaxsters, that are, doing this on purpose,
Yeah.
that it makes it really hard for people that you know
It we're going to get to the point where we can't just like use visual evidence ever again. It will require an actual body, or a corpse or carcass, whatever you want to call it. Which I was talking about that when we were going over Bigfoot. That we are rapidly getting to the point where right now we're still at a point where CGI does not look quite right with compared to an actual animal moving. The way that the light falls on it, things like that, it still doesn't look right. But I would say in about within 5 years, we will probably get to that point where you can actually fake an animal and nobody will be able to tell the difference.
well, do you remember when they had alien autopsy? Remember that about
I
50
I
years ago?
remember it, but I always thought it was just a bunch of BS, so I really didn't.
No, no, but do you remember how? Okay, so the suit that they made and the video and everything like that. Okay,
Mhm.
like they completely, um, the guy blew a fortune on that costume. Remember when they took the eye, like they were taking pieces from the eyes and then putting them on the table and then opening up the alien, and there were layers in there, and it was like, it was really, if you didn't know any better, you would just sit there and go, oh wow, they found an alien. if you didn't know any better. But people are like, no, no, man, this isn't real. And the person that produced that, they blew a fortune. But you got to remember, they got national exposure. Like it was this big. I remember it was like this big thing that was going to happen that they were going to show on Friday night, and I can't remember if it was NBC or CBS or whatever, but they were just alien autopsy, and then they show this creepy black and white footage of an alien autopsy, which turned out to be horseshit. But that's if they can do that 20 years ago. And I know a buddy of mine that worked on making costumes for creatures for movies and stuff. And he said, if you want to make a Bigfoot, if you want to make a Bigfoot and make it look real, it'll like a cheap Bigfoot will cost you $500,000. If you want it to look real, like if you want it to have the whole, everything move, and it's going to cost you minimum $500,000. And luckily, not an there isn't somebody out there that is that dumb enough. I shouldn't say that, because somebody, if they do that, remember they made that big stink uh, when that big stink about they had a corpse of a Bigfoot. Now that went, it was on the news and
Oh
blah
yeah.
blah blah, and you didn't actually see it. So you could imagine if somebody blew $1 million on a suit and made one and they found a guy. Just say they found a basketball player that's 7 feet, made him put this outfit on and make him walk and have this thing move and do all the and I mean have a production. You would fool so many people.
Yeah, but the thing is that a suit is still going to look like a suit. It'll fool like some people. They'll be like, "Ooh, ah, look at that." But ultimately, I feel like something like that, there's going to be just like you just basically looking at it, and you'll just get the sensation that you're not looking at something that's actually a living, breathing like primate. You're looking at something that's a person in a suit. Um, on that point, so I don't know if you've ever been to Austin, but down on 6th Street, there was, I don't know if it's still there after the COVID wiped out so many businesses, but there's a museum.
Are you in Austin, Texas?
No, I'm in Dallas, but my
Oh, I'm
girlfriend
sorry. I'm just
told
the
you about.
people in Texas are going through hell right now.
Dude, I was actually one of the lucky ones. I told you that our power was going in and out uh, for a couple of days, but no. So there's this museum of strange stuff in Austin on 6th Street, and one of the things that they have there is supposedly a Bigfoot in a block of ice.
Yeah, I know. Do you know the guy named? His name is Carpetbagger, and he has a popular YouTube channel. I like watching the guy because he's hilarious whenever he goes to haunted houses. But he went to that,
But they're
and
all in freeze it. They
yeah,
make money off of
he actually
Bigfoot.
went there. I believe it was him, or it could have been another guy, but I'm pretty sure it was Carpetbagger that did that. But getting back to the flying birds,
Yeah,
uh, I saw years ago, and this is years ago because they said, uh, and you got, man, this is a long time ago, but they said there were people out there saying it would be impossible for a pterodactyl to fly. Impossible. That's what they were saying. So a guy built one.
yeah.
He built it, and and the thing flew beautifully.
And they built it to prove that
Yeah,
it used the shape of its head, like the back part,
yeah, like a
partly
rudder.
to steer.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find that just real quick. Um,
Well, I sent you a link to. I think the pterodactyl's on the link that I sent you. If you play it, it'll be on. It'll be one of the. I believe it's one of the five real creatures that have flown on this planet. Giant creatures that have flown.
okay, let's take a look. All right.
There it is. All right.
These things were just majestic and huge, and but these are the kinds of things that people are supposedly seeing. Um, and there's places where they are called, like Papua New Guinea is called the Ropin, and supposedly in 1944, American fighter pilot was there
Go
in
back for one
1912.
sec. Oh, here it is. Okay. Okay. You see what? Okay. That. Do you know? Okay. So watch what it does. And scientists have figured it out. It can fly. It can take off from the ground. No, go back. Okay. So when it lands, watch this. Stop it there. So it's the only creature because people couldn't understand. Like they were like that thing would need like a running. It needed to run and jump into the air like a glider, and it didn't. That thing could jump off the ground and into the air in less than a second. Like that's how much power it had.
Yeah,
Because what it would do, okay, if you stop it there, if you look at it, what it would do if there was a just say a T-Rex or whatever, and it had to go hunting for its food, or stop it there. If it had to go hunting for its food, it had to leave the young there. So most creatures didn't screw around with a T-Rex, but with the babies or any of the, it could have been an allosaur, any creature, um, with its young left there, this guy could come down and easily look at that 35-foot wingspan. So it could come down, grab a baby T Rex, put it in its mouth, and it would quickly jump into the air. And the T Rex was lunch, but these things, you're talking a wingspan of 35 feet.
yeah.
Like they're just incredible creatures.
But now, getting back to do are they still alive? Uh, I feel like if they are alive, then they probably do not spend a lot of time um, in near places where people are going to see them, obviously. But I mean, there's a lot of places where they're still remote enough that an animal can get away with not being seen. But on the other hand, I mean, obviously there's are places where people claim to be seeing them and on a semi-regular basis. So the real question is are people seeing these things, or are they seeing something else that they think is a pterodactyl, or are people just lying about it?
Here's the thing: if you everybody's got one of these now, right? So, and I've said this before. Um, Anytime I like to go hiking, okay, I like going to the woods, and go hiking, and I hate taking stuff with me. I always bring water, but I hate bringing stuff with me. Anytime I leave my phone at home, something cool will happen. Like I'll see it. My son in the summertime. He's like, Dad, look, and it was an eagle, and it had a largemouth bass,
Wow.
and I was just like, I've never seen that before, and it was flying along, and my son's like, Dad, you take a picture of it or a video, and I'm like, I left the phone at home, and I was just so beyond, and I've had elk, not elk. What the hell am I talking about? Elk, large deer, just like walking down a path. Three of them just walk right across from you with me and my son, and it all happened on the same. When we saw that, when we saw the eagle, then these deer, a bunch of them just walked, no joke, 5 feet from the path, and the last one noticed me because me and my son stopped, and it it we startled the animals so much that it fell backwards, like it fell to the side, and it was
Wow.
you feel bad, but I was like, I can't believe I left my phone at home. So do I think people are seeing these in the air? There was another video. You don't know anymore with the bloody CGI. Uh, uh, with the pterodactyls, not too sure, but a big eagle, yeah. There was an eagle I wanted to send you that they said the wingspan, the guy measured, the wingspan of this eagle was 10 feet.
Wow.
Yeah, it was 10 feet.
Moving
And this
on
is coming
from
from a scientist.
pterodactyls, I want to talk about actual birds and large birds um, existing, like things like the what they call the thunderbird, which is apparently basically, um, I guess you would say that it would be like probably like a huge vulture or a huge eagle. What do you think is the possibility that those exist? Because they have had some sightings. Uh,
Are you talking about the Phoenix Thunderbird? Like, which Thunderbird are you talking about?
Not the phoenix. The phoenix is like an Egyptian mythology, I think, but the thunderbird is actually like basically your gargantuan eagle or vulture that
Oh, I
uh,
know where you're talking about. What state is that in?
I think
Utah
it's
or
actually
something?
multiple states.
Because I've heard of that, the Thunderbird, and there was, I think William Shatner was talking about that the other night on what's his show called? Unexplained Mysteries or The Unexplained.
It's as far as I know, it actually was a living animal that's supposedly extinct. Uh, the Native Americans talk about it that it was so loud that it when it flapped, it sounded like thunder. Here, I found a good picture. I'm going to share this with you. Okay,
Okay.
let's see.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is the picture that I wanted to. Yeah. What year is that?
Um, I would say I'm not sure what year that picture is from, but um, it's let me focus back on here. Sorry. Um, I know I don't know that now that is just a replica, but I really feel like I mean these things were real at some point. These things actually were flying around. Now, some people swear up and down that they have seen birds at large, and if there is something like that, it makes me think, are these things just fly most of the time and spend very little time on the ground? I mean, how does that work? I mean, what is the biology of the thing they where these things exist? How does that happen? Do they just only just like come down every once in a while? It's just you have so many strange things that people are supposedly seeing, and the more strange animals that people reportedly see, you'd think that there would be more physical evidence of it. I mean, not just like skeletons and stuff like that, but you know, fecal matter, things like that. Uh, because these things would have to leave a huge biological footprint.
Yeah, that's my thing. And I've heard of the Thunderbird um, story several times, but I've seen, I don't know, I saw a video, but the thing was so far away that you couldn't tell. But again, when it was when the scientists looked at it and they looked at a tree, and when they measured the tree that where they saw this thing, they said this thing had a wingspan of over 20 feet. That's what they were saying. Okay, so because people around that area were terrified of this thing, and it was scaring the shit out of people for a good month. So they were told anybody, not only they were telling, especially if you have children, they were saying do not keep your children. When you were a kid, you'd go out with your buddies on their bikes. Well, this is out in the middle of nowhere, so um, and that's where they said they saw this sighting. Now, if this thing was out there, that there could easily pick up a man if it was for real. If it was a real, if that was real, that would capture a man. That would kill a guy. Yes, and that's the other picture. What's that of? A bat?
Pterodactyl.
Pterodactyl?
This is supposedly this is
No,
people
but I
think that
think
this is
that
fake.
that's a. Is that doctored?
People think that it is definitely fake. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's fake because yeah. Well, what's it say there? Although the Yeah, that one. Yeah, I thought it was the one where it's this like weird looking bat thing, but no, that is a pterodactyl. But no, because I think these cowboys, even though, uh, what year was that? 1890? Would
1890 that the incident occurred.
huh?
And
Would
they
they
have
have?
another picture that now
Oh,
they are calling this Thunderbirds, but that's actually a misidentification because a Thunderbird is considered to be an actual bird, not a pterodactyl. So these things are showing pictures of with like a article with a title called "Civil War Thunderbird Photo Real or Fake." That's a misnomer. That's actually not what it's supposed to be of. The Thunderbird is what we were looking at up here. This is what you would call like your actual like Thunderbird. The other ones are just pterodactyls.
yeah. In that picture there, they
Mm-hmm.
did a guy. If you go back to that picture that those Confederate boys or the soldiers up, no, go down to that giant that yeah, that's a the guys are real. Somebody photoshopped that picture.
It's a really good. It's really convincing Photoshop. I will give them that.
Yeah, they
They did a really
they
good job of it.
I don't know who did it, but there is a picture of those guys posing exactly the way they are with no pterodactyl there. So somebody found that picture without that thing, without the pterodactyl there. So somebody put that in there, and that's what I mean by you're always going to have con artists out there that just want to say, "Hey, I got this cool picture. Look, look at this. Look what I found." And It's the same thing when the guy tried to pull it off with the surgeon's photo of the Loch Ness monster. For the longest time, people believed that that was for real, and it just turned out to be a fake picture of that a guy wanted to create. Go back.
He did it as a joke, basically.
Well, he did it to get back at. He was really pissed off at the. It's a long story, but they fired him, and he kind of uh, got back at them. But he was just a disgruntled. He was in other words, a vindictive person. Um, Long story short, he grabbed a foot of a hippo and he put it around the shore. And then when they had people from like people that, like zoological people came out and looked at it and they said, this is a foot of a hippopotamus. So it kind of, so that he got fired or something. And
Is he the
then,
one who did the hippopotamus? And because I'm not remembering it like that, but I'll take your word for it.
yeah, I did a project about it. One of my first projects was this. But if you go and play the video, the one that I sent you, it shows animals through history that have existed.
Let me find it just real quick. Hold on.
Was it your cat?
Yes, this is my cat.
Yeah, the kids are driving me nuts. They brought me to the cat thing the other day. They want a cat, and I'm allergic to cats, and my daughter's just. But I felt so bad. They were in the cage, and I was just like, so I think I'm gonna get a cat.
Hey, that's what Claritin is for. It's good stuff.
Yeah, well, it's just I couldn't take watching him in there. He was just talking to me as I walked by it, and I knew as soon as I was in the car, and I'm like, we're not getting one of these things. We're not getting the get it out of your head, get it out of your head. And then when I saw him, he was all over me, all just when he came out, he was just in love with me, and I was like, his name's Chewbacca
Oh my gosh.
because he sounds like Chewbacca.
Mm,
Yeah, he makes that noise, so they
mm.
call him. No, his name's Warwick, but I'm going to change it to Max, or keep Warwick. I like Warwick. So, anyways, so yeah, okay. So watch this. This here. Watch this video. Okay, so that's real. Like not real, but that was really at one time that was on the planet.
Yeah.
Okay, and why it was on the planet? Because it had more oxygen. That's why these creatures could have, you know, grown to be huge. Is that a giant centipede?
Yes.
God, do you remember the movie Kong, where the guys they've did you have you seen Kong the original the not the one about 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay, do you remember when they fell in the swamp and those bugs started eating them?
Yep.
Oh God, I hate every time I that one. I always have to fast forward that part of the movie. It just bugs me. It's just so these disgusting worms, man. All right,
I remember that.
okay, so what is that? That's a large what? Okay, so yeah, look at the size of that son of a gun. Dragonfly.
Dragonflies were huge back then. I mean,
Yeah.
and now I don't know if they became smaller as an adaptation or the ones that are around are just like smaller like species that existed back then, but a lot of animals that existed back then have basically remained unchanged. Um, so I think that it's completely rational to think that there are animals that are still around today from back then. I mean, I have no problem with the idea of living reptiles that
What
fly.
what is that?
This is, I'm not sure what this is. Some kind of a bat, I would think. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it is a bat. All right. Sorry, go on. It's just I couldn't make out what that thing was.
But I feel like,
Oh, that's Pangea.
yeah, I feel like if there are living species of animals that existed back then or living versions of animals that lived back then, we have to at least assume the possibility that flying reptiles managed to survive, and if even if it's like limited populations, um, I think that we have to. Uh, I think we have to at least accept the possibility that there are relic species that are very rare, and it seems like they are even thriving. For that matter, we just have to figure out how to look for them.
I think the only way we're ever going to see any of these, like like a thunderbird or anything like that, or um, you need a corpse. That's
Yeah.
the only way the way that people, because you're always going to have people saying, "Nah, I don't believe that at all." Like, you need a corpse. Just there's your especially with the CGI and the stuff that they could do. Um, but yeah, a flying see flying creatures are they're all over the world. There are legends in Russia, all over the world. They have these giant flying creatures that are from all over the planet. So this legend isn't just coming from North America.
No, they're not coming from just North America. It's just the thing. The thing about legends is that either people were seeing something, or people were making something up, or people were exaggerating. Um, I don't think that there's anything that's quote unquote legendary that isn't based in fact somewhere. I mean, I think that there's probably actually like a some people like saw like one-eyed people that were like really inbred folks that just didn't um and they called them a cyclops. Was what I think that was.
Well, the Cyclops, see, where my parents are from, or go do what you need to do.
Okay, I will be right back.
Okay, and I'll explain what Cyclops, um, where my parents are from, Sicily, the island of Sicily. Uh, they believed a Medusa was, there, and uh, they were finding, and when guys would go to the island, long, like we're talking, the Greeks at one time owned Sicily. Before them were the what are they called? Not the Turks. The what is the name? Persians, but they were a different. It was a different name. They were called. Anyways, they believed that they were finding elephant skulls, and if you ever have you ever seen an elephant skull, it has for its nasal cavity has this giant hole, and that's people found I'm just explaining Cyclops.
Hmm.
People found an elephant's skull, and they would see this giant hole, and they would assume that's where the eye would be. So people were terrified of this island, saying this island has cyclopses, these giant one-eyed monsters. Because if you didn't know any better, if you never seen an elephant, and back then people just didn't, you just didn't see it,
Yeah.
they would assume that it was a cyclops. It's the same thing as, but it turned out to be real. Where Darwin, when he went to the islands there, he said there was a moth there. There was a flower. The gal oh God, I can't even say the island. The Galapagos, whatever the islands there. You know which islands I'm talking
Yeah, the
about?
Galapagos.
Galapagos Islands. He said, without seeing knowing about this creature, this giant butterfly or moth, he said because of this flower, the only way to get to that nectar, he said that this moth, the proboscis of this thing, would have to be about this long, and everybody laughed at him. And then 80 to 100 years later, they find this moth that feeds off of this flower. So, what's that got to do with Cyclops? Nothing, actually. I just wasted time. So I was just trying to say, like, how some things. Here's the moral of the story. Some things, it can make sense. If I were to sit there and you didn't know any better, and I said, "Well, this is from a cyclops, a giant man. Look, it's a skeleton. Look, it's a skull. And here is where do you think the eye would be?" And if you didn't know any better, you would sit there and go, "Well, right there." And you'd be terrified. You'd be sitting there going, "Well, are there any more of these things around?" So that's how legend of the Cyclops came about. They believed that the island of Sicily had cyclopses and Medusa and everything. So um, yeah. So all right. So yeah. Anyways, the only way we're gonna know about these flying creatures, we need a body. That's what we need.
Do you think that, given the anecdotal evidence, do you think that I feel like the anecdotal evidence for these creatures is a little bit weaker than I would like it to be. And I'm not talking about uh, giant birds. I'm talking about flying reptiles. I would like to really see a little bit more, like information from firsthand encounters about it. But I think it's interesting to say the least.
Oh, well, of course. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, it's interesting. So, yeah. So, how are things down there? Everything okay? Before we go, I just want to ask him, how are things down in Texas?
Uh, it got up into the 70s yesterday.
Right. So, I just what I don't understand is why did it? So, a storm happened that they were not prepared for. Because has Texas ever? When I think of Texas, I think heat. I think it's hot, right?
I mean, it that's kind of like part of the problem. Basically, what happened is back in 2011, they had uh, a pretty bad cold snap, and they were supposed to winterize the power grid in Texas. Um, they didn't. Um, to make matters worse, they actually have the power grid in Texas cut off from other states, so share. We cannot share the power grids from other states that are experiencing less of a load on the power grid. So basically, what that means is that if the power grid in Texas goes down, um, and like if a lot of people if a lot of electrical plants go down, they have to cut power so that demand does not exceed production. And that's what happened in Texas now. Um, a lot of people did not experience the rolling blackouts like they were supposed to. And I think that there's probably a logical reason for why that happened, but um, a lot of people are very upset about it. Some people, uh, there have been deaths because of it, loss
Well,
of
over
productivity.
40 people have died.
I'm not exactly what the
Yeah, it
I'm
was
I don't know
on
the
the
number
news. I
though.
heard some 11-year-old kid died too. That's terrible.
It's it's evil. They chose not to put the money into winterizing uh, power plants because they didn't think it was worth it. Um, Now, people, I was actually standing in line with a couple of gentlemen on Thursday afternoon. Nice enough guys, but they were convinced that it was issues with renewable energy that was the problem. And it's actually not true because there were issues with um, fossil fuel powered plants as well. The problem was that turbines were not winterized. They were not designed to withstand the kind of temperatures that they experienced, and that caused a drop in power production. And again, to keep the power grid from getting overwhelmed, they cut power. Now, I live in Denton, Texas, and we actually have our own um, power plant, I think. So, as far as I know, the rolling blackouts were just perfunctory. They were required by the state, but I don't think that we would have experienced a drain on our power grid uh, if there hadn't been any rolling blackouts in our area. People that live near fire stations or hospitals or whatnot did not experience rolling blackouts on the level that other people did because they were sharing a power grid with, like, say, like a necessary utility. One of the guys I was talking to at my grocery store while I was waiting in line told me that he lived next to a water treatment plant, though, and for some reason they decided to cut power to it. And so after about a day of that, he lost water because his water froze up. So there,
Wow.
well, I think there was a rhyme and reason to some of it. I feel like some of it was just like by it was arbitrary. I don't know, but the fact of the matter is that because of the overall decisions that were made by the power companies that are here in Texas, people died, and they shouldn't have died.
No, That's absolutely horrendous, man.
Yeah. Now, I want to say that I don't want to speak in any kind of absolutes because I don't know exactly everything that occurred with the drops in power and the outages. So I don't want to claim that I know exactly why things happen. I'm just basically making suppositions um, based on my own opinions about it. So,
Okay, well, you're safe and everything.
yeah. At Wednesday, so the rolling blackout started in the early morning hours of Monday. They proceeded through late Wednesday night. I lost power for the last time around 9 9:30, and then the power came back up a lot sooner than I was expecting it to. And I was just like, I just had that feeling that things were it was back on for good.
Right.
So it was. I mean, obviously, it was a huge relief. I can't even begin to overstate that because I was beginning to feel kind of loony.
Oh, I don't blame you. I mean, that was just. Oh, I don't blame you. Like it's just. That's terrifying.
And honestly, I really don't feel like I have too much room to complain because I was, I really was one of the lucky people. I had power every other hour. I could cook, I could make coffee, could like browse the internet for a little bit. It's when the outages became a little bit irregular, where the power cut off sooner than I was expecting it to, that I started to kind of worrying because I was thinking that it might get like worse, that they'd start cutting our power off for longer, um, things like that.
Right.
But I still don't think that in our area that it was necessary. And my girlfriend had to deal with an outage where they turned her power back on after she was without it for oh like 16 hours or something like that, and she had just enough time to cook something, and she also like took a quick shower, which and then they cut the power off again before she could dry her hair. And so she was starting to have a lot of stress because of that. And I didn't actually get to take a shower for uh, about 4 or 5 days because of it. And I got out of it relatively unscathed. The only thing that got screwed up in my apartment was my shower head.
Right.
My shower head's the washer for the um, handle uh, cracked, so my faucet, my overhead, uh, my shower head was dribbling, and so that sucked. But my landlord got in and took care of it. In the meantime, you had to deal with. I went to the grocery store the day that I heard that the next day after I heard that they were telling us to boil water, and I got up at like 9:30 and got to the grocery store and got 4 cases of water. And while I was there, I was talking to this woman who worked there who said that the line the day before was to the back of the store, and it's it's kind of scary.
Yeah,
I
I watched it on the. I was watching it on the news. Well, I'm glad you're okay, man. That's
oh, I am too, and thank you. Um, so yeah, I guess I'm glad to that it's over with. It I'm used to cold weather. I'm not used to that sort of thing where you have to worry about the fact that the weather may kill you.
yeah. Well, I don't think anybody's ever ready for that. I mean, but I'm glad you're okay. All right. So, um, gotta. We're gonna sign off here. Okay.
All right.
So for next week, I want to do sea monsters like a giant squid.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah. We will be
All right,
here.
folks.
You have a good night.
You have a good night too, folks. That was James. I'm Vito. Uh, thanks for hanging out. And, uh, Ben couldn't make it because he was whatever. Anyways, so until next week, Monster Monday, we're going to talk. Next week will be Giant Squid. All right. I'll talk to you later.
Later. Bye bye.
Bye, James.